Donald Trump said that the US will blockade the Strait of Hormuz following the failure of peace talks with Iran. First, can you just break down for us, under maritime law, what is the legal definition of a blockade? And under international maritime law, can the US legally enter or can the US legally enforce a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, it will be the question of might is right. That's all I can say. As the U.S. can send some of its warships to block. It's a narrow waterway, the Strait of Hormuz, and it can take any kind of physical action, and none of it. It's always debatable about the legality of it because the international law regime that governs straits or international straits is found in the convention, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. But neither Iran nor US are a party to it. So they can pretty well do whatever they feel is in their favor, which is what they're doing. Now, the issue there is Oman on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz is a party to the Law of the Sea Convention. So, uh, how that will be negotiated with Oman about ships transiting through the straits is another question. The whole question of transit rights through an international strait is a creation of the convention, okay, which only dates back to 1982. So it is doubtful whether it can even be considered as customary international law. Most customary international law goes back a long time. And definitely, it will not bind the US or Iran because both of them have chosen not to join the convention. So everything is uncertain as regards this. So this is why I'm saying it will be negotiating power that will win out. It will be, on the other side of the strait. Uh, Allegedly, there are mines being laid. So um, are ships going to take that risk of going over the waters that are mined? Now, that is one issue. The other is that as far as uh, imposing tolls for passing through, some ships, quite a few ships actually, have paid the toll and have passed through. Now, United States apparently wants to negotiate a splitting of the toll money. They're not against it. They want to split the toll money with Iran, and that really has nothing to do with the law. That's something that if they negotiate a splitting of the tolls that they will earn from ships passing through the straits, that's up to them. Whether ships will be willing to pay the toll, that's another matter. Of course, in their commercial interests, they probably will. So this is an issue which is plaguing everyone in the business. I mean, I'm speaking from the point of view of a maritime lawyer. International maritime law is my background, and I don't see any ready-made answers to any of these questions.
Right.
And
You spoke of the law of the sea convention, law of the sea convention. Can you just broaden this thought for us? What exactly is the law of the sea convention? What are some of the major countries that have signed on for this?
okay, the law of the sea is very old, but in terms of conventions, there was a set of conventions in 1958. Okay, there were four conventions, and all those conventions then were put together, amalgamated in 1982, and a comprehensive convention was created, known as the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, and a lot of provisions in UNCLOS were carryovers from existing customary law. They were codified into the convention. But the convention also created a lot of new law, and particularly the question of straits, transit passage through the states. There are different kinds of passages: innocent passage, transit passage, free passage, and all that. So these concepts were created through UNCLOS in 1982.
Hmm.
Now, unless you are a party to the UNCLOS, you cannot really claim any rights coming under it, or you cannot enforce any rights to on a non-party. And it so happens that US and Iran are both non-parties to the convention. It's arguable that the 1982 convention represents the international law or the international maritime law on the public side, but again, that's debatable. While a lot of the law does represent customary international law, but many things are outside the perimeter of customary law. And unless you join the convention, not only by signing it, but by ratifying or
Mm.
acceding to the convention, then only you become a party to it. And then you are bound by the convention. That is the law. And at present, the US has not agreed to many provisions of UNCLOS, and therefore it has never joined. It joins those matters for which works in their favor. And Iran also has not joined the convention. So none of those countries are subject to enforcing of any rules of law under the UNCLOS.
Right. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the United States did not join the Sea Convention?
Because it never joins conventions. If you look at the history of the US,
Hmm.
they talk a lot, they join the meetings, the diplomatic conferences, they send delegations, they even chair committees and all that. But when it comes to actually participating in the convention by joining it, they don't do it.
Right. Um, and
That's
what
common for the United States.
Right. And what options will countries have to challenge the U.S. blockade, which goes into effect, at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? Is there any type of forum that will hear such cases?
The forum is International Court of Justice, number one. And the second one, which probably will be more effective, is the ITLOS. ITLOS is the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, which is based in Hamburg. I say that will be a more effective forum to approach because all the judges in that forum are pretty well versed in this area of law of
Right.
the sea, maritime law.
Right. So, given that Iran has also initiated a blockade, and now you'll have the United States that will also initiate a blockade, what does that do to global commerce now? What does that do to the shipping industry?
Well, it's disastrous to tell you. When things work smoothly, then everything is good. And now we are in a situation where you can see that the commercial, financial effects of this war is it's taking a heavy toll on everyone.
Hmm.
All countries are suffering from it, and the United States itself. Prices have gone sky high, and I'm watching every day on these American journalists, and many of them are completely opposed to the war because it's hurting the ordinary public.